Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 9:30 a.m. Members of the public are invited to participate in this meeting of council by attending the meeting in person at the council chamber at the municipal office located at 10227 Ilderton Road in Coldstream. Members of the public may also access the meeting, which is live streamed on our Middlesex Centre YouTube channel, or by contacting the municipal clerk to receive a registration link to join the meeting electronically. The municipality of Middlesex Centre recognizes that we are gathering on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and the Lenape peoples. We acknowledge the enduring presence of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people on this land, and are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. Our neighboring First Nations communities, which continue to live as sovereign nations, include the Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, and Munsee Delaware Nation. This morning, there are no additions to the agenda, so we can now move to disclosures of pecuniary interest. Does anyone have anything to disclose? Seeing none, then the first item today is the Ilderton Municipal Drain Number 2, consideration of the engineer's report. We have Brendan Shapton from GEI Consultants, who's going to be presenting that report. I guess when you're ready, then when you just push the button, I'll turn mine off and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity today to present our report on the Ilderton Municipal Drain Number 2. This report was prepared in accordance with Section 78 of the Drainage Act for the repair and improvement of an existing municipal drain. The existing Ilderton Municipal Drain Number 2 is a closed drain, open drain, closed drain system located within and southeast of Ilderton from the intersection of Hyde Park and Ilderton Road, downstream to the southeast to the Oxbow open drain. The watershed consists of approximately 82.4 hectares, which includes agricultural properties southeast of Ilderton and much of the southeast residential properties in Ilderton, including a storm sewer system, stormwater management pond, and wastewater treatment facility. The latest report for the Ilderton Drain Number 2 was prepared in 1980, which predates the considerable residential development within the watershed, including a new storm sewer system for the properties on the west side of Hyde Park Road, a new stormwater management pond for the properties on the east side of Hyde Park Road, and the wastewater treatment facility. A landowner requested improvements to alleviate flooding and erosion issues which occur on their property, which is located downstream of the new storm sewers, stormwater management pond, and wastewater treatment facility. The landowner stated that they believed the existing drain is undersized, that blowouts occur along the length of the closed drain, that the existing catch basin between the open drain and closed drain frequently clogs, and inquired about closing in a portion of the open drain. Following several meetings with the landowner and Upper Thames River Conservation Authority to discuss and obtain feedback on a total of 5 different design options developed throughout the project, the recommended design under this report includes replacement of the downstream closed drain with twin pipes of an increased size, replacement of the existing catch basin between the open drain and closed drain with 2 catch basins, to reconstruct the existing open drain up to the wastewater treatment facility, including the construction of buffer strips along the open drain. We would note that the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority would not support a close-in of the open drain through the wooded area as requested by the landowner. And finally, the report includes abandonment of the municipal drain located through the residential subdivision where the municipal drain has been replaced by the storm sewer system. The recommended design accounted for design flow contributions from agricultural properties, the wastewater treatment facility, stormwater management pond, and storm sewer system. The estimated cost for the drain, including construction, engineering, allowances, species at risk reporting, Conservation Authority permit, carrying costs, and net HST, is approximately $605,840. These costs are assessed to properties within the watershed using the modified TAJA method, which is recognized as a fair and equitable method of assessing drain costs in Ontario. The costs are assessed as outlet benefit and special benefit to the properties, as shown in the estimated assessment table within the report. Included in this report are assessments to lands and roads in Ilderton, which were assessed as a block assessment under Section 25 of the Drainage Act as directed by this council. We do note that the outlet assessments accounted for design flow contributions and frequency of drain use from the agricultural properties, wastewater treatment facility, stormwater management pond, and storm sewer system, meaning that if a property contributes more design flow to the drain, they will generally have a higher outlet assessment. To summarize the assessments, agricultural properties are assessed approximately 21.3%, non-agricultural properties 36.7%, the wastewater treatment facility 30.2%, roads 11.8%. That concludes my presentation for the report on the Ilderton Municipal Drain number 2. Thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you for that report. Are there questions from affected property owners to be addressed by the engineer? So we'll just have them come up. Yeah. Does anyone wish to speak or ask anything of the engineer? Okay. All right, so council. Okay, I'll start with Councillor Coles.
Thank you for the presentation. Can you speak to the placement and can you speak to the placement and to the design of the drain? As some of the residents are finding the water's not being collected in the drain, it's pooling on their property. So will this correct the issues?
Would this be properties within the residential portion or within the agricultural portion? Residential. So the drain provides an outlet to the stormwater management pond from the residential portion. So if the drain isn't providing enough of an outlet, there might be some alleviation there, but ultimately it would be on the stormwater management pond and the storm sewer system to correct ponding within the residential subdivision.
Okay, so it sounds like it would be a partial fix and not a full fix, or what can we do to make it a full fix?
The full fix wouldn't necessarily be under the Drainage Act. It would be improvements to the storm sewer system and the stormwater management pond that storm sewer system outlets into. This provides an outlet, so for that water to get away. So if there is water being backed up in the system, it'll help drain the pond. But if the issue is occurring within the storm sewers themselves or within the pond itself, this won't necessarily solve that problem. So it would be a partial fix.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Brennan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Looking at what's been said, the outcome with 2 catch basins, if 1 catch basin is plugging up, then what's going to stop 2 from plugging up? And can you tell me also what the Upper Thames reasoning was, why it can't be a closed drain from where it's open now or closed now back up to the stormwater pond or up to the sewage treatment plant, why it can't be a closed-in drain there?
So to answer your first question on the catch basins, there are 2 catch basins there, one being a much larger, I believe it's 3 meters by 1.2 meters, and the catch basins are being set at different elevations. So the larger catch basin is at the lower elevation to grab more water, and if that one does plug up, then there is a secondary higher catch basin that if the water continues to rise, will get into the system that way. Ultimately, as part of the work, we are proposing larger buffer strips, which would remove more trees and branches from being able to even get into the drain to have a chance to plug it up. And hopefully there can be continued maintenance on the drain with increased access that can also clear off those catch basins on an annual or semi-annual basis to make sure water can get into them.
And the reason Upper Thames won't allow
I don't want to speak necessarily put words in their mouth, but we understand that they had concerns with relocating the flooding from one property to another property by doing an enclosure. So if you were to enclose that drain and it would be of a smaller capacity than an open drain, you'd essentially be pushing flooding either further upstream. And they were concerned that just closing the drain in isn't going to solve the problem if there's too much flow coming down through it. But I'd ultimately have to ask them to be here to speak to their reasoning. But, over several meetings, they were very clear that they would not support or not permit that. And an appeal would have to go to the board for that to go forward.
Yeah, we could appeal to the board for to have it closed in if they would agree, if the board would agree.
Yes, correct. Yeah, speaking with the landowners and internal discussions, it was viewed that this is probably the best solution and the best solution to get something happening sooner than proceeding trying to have the increased cost of doing an enclosure and the extra time it would take to get through that process.
Okay, I'm just, my only concern is even with 2 catch basins and from what I understand, the Upper Thames is not letting us clear back from the banks all the way. They want some trees to remain there.
Yes.
Which leaves and limbs obviously will plug off the drain again. So I'm not sure this is 100% solution to the problem. It's a Band-Aid fix, and I'm not sure even with 2 catch basins, it's going to solve the problem. That's my major concern. And we've been dealing with this since 2017. We come up with a solution that's not going to solve the problem. Yeah, we're going to get it done, but it's not going to solve the problem. So if it's not going to solve the problem, why are we going this route?
So we did a walkthrough with the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority through the bushed area. The trees that are identified to remain were more healthy trees. So there will not be necessarily as much dead branches, and we are clearing 30-meter total width. And for example, on a regular drain, that's about 10 meters width. So we're doing 3 times the amount to try to reduce the potential for trees and brushes to fall into that drain. Ultimately, it was to get the permit, this is what was required. This is the design we went with. And even with enclosing the drain further upstream, you're still going to have a catch basin within the bush. They wouldn't permit a full enclosure all the way up past the stormwater management pond. So you still have a chance for overland flow, even if you do continue to enclose that drain further upstream within the bush. It would just start overland flow sooner than on the downstream properties.
Okay. And
Thank you.
go ahead.
Oh, I need somebody else.
Lori to speak.
Oh,
Oh.
should we come back to the resident? We'll go back after council. Okay, we're going to finish with council. Is that okay? And then we'll come back to you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Stanton. Go ahead.
Excuse me, through your Madam Mayor to Brendan. Yeah, I realize in your position, this is not a easy one to deal with. I do have a couple notes. There's one property, 11060002 that's zoned for housing. So I imagine their proportion of the assessment would change because it's no longer agriculture.
Would this be the property that's right abutting the church? Yeah. So that property, I did check up for the meeting. It is not currently zoned for agricultural, so it would not be eligible for the grant.
Okay, but their proportion of the cost should be more too, just because they'll increase the flow due to the housing. But that's
If that property was to be developed, they would need to have their own stormwater management report. And then if they would have an increase in flow to the drain, then we would need to do either improvements at that point. They do also potentially could outlet directly down to the Oxbow drain itself and not have to go through this system. So we can't actually account for their future use without knowing exactly how that property might be developed.
And the reason why Mr. Stanton was wanting the 15 meters on both sides was trying to reduce, debris and all that. And I understand why the Conservation Authority wants to leave all the trees, but basically he's not going to gain anything. So if he removes his request for the 15 meters on both sides under section 24 and 26, that 88,940, he's no longer assessed that, correct?
The $88,940 would go down. There is an extra portion for the double catch basins he's being assessed as well, but a big portion of that is the increased working with right-of-way damages and tree clearing for that. So if he was willing to not initially have that there, then yes, that assessment portion could come down.
And the catch basins, like, I understand everyone's concerned, and so would I. They're just going to fill up with debris. So is there a better design? Like we talked a bit with our engineer, like a sluice gate or something where the water comes in low and goes up high, or you've got catch basins, and then a ways away from the catch basin, there's another barrier because what's going to happen in a big storm event is the debris is going to come, it's going to cover the catch basin, and it's all going to blow over top of the ground, and we haven't gained anything. So somehow we have to come up with a better, like the catch basin, somehow it's got to be better, because we're not going to gain anything until we figure out how to make that better.
Yeah, so the intent, the catch basin, existing catch basin is, the new catch basin is going to be larger than the existing, and having a secondary catch basin, giving that extra inlet point. I understand what you're talking about on a kind of a double berm system. We see those on agricultural properties all the time as wascobs, water inlet control structures. To do something like that, we would be needing to take more of the usable land downstream to create that berm. So we didn't want to go with, creating more of a disturbance on the agricultural properties. As for the gate options, they can work, but they do require significant maintenance as well to make sure that they are continually operational. So in our view, that's a more expensive cost than a catch basin initially, and that maintenance on the gate could potentially just be done on being out there and cleaning off that catch basin more frequently.
Well then, okay. And now we have Councillor Burrs is next.
All right. So this is an example where the Drainage Act isn't perfect, correct?
Is imperfect.
It's never, it doesn't always lead to a perfect solution.
I would say it very rarely leads to a
Yeah,
perfect solution.
right on. So my question is more on maintenance. It could be through you, or I could direct it to our head of Public Works and Engineering on the maintenance side, okay? So perhaps you can comment. I see Dan's back there too. We do maintenance on all these drains, correct? Or do we contract them out? That's question one. You want to answer that first? Oops.
So we do maintenance on
Yeah. There we go.
Yep, through the mayor to Councilor Burrs, we do maintenance on an as requested basis, right? So we don't proactively go out and maintain structures typically. There's just too many of them to do that.
So in this case, if people have concerns with this, they can complain into us and then we'll go out and do something. So this is going to be one of those things where, not to a ridiculous point of view, where the citizens are going to have to be aware of what's going on with the branches and all that stuff. Let our people know so they can go in there and clean it up. We might be cleaning it up more than a normal drain because it's going through a residential area. So there's no limit on maintenance. Whenever it's needed, we do it and then we assess out, correct? Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. Through the mayor, just a comment. I know we have a similar situation in our, at the mill pond there. It's a pond with a bunch of branches falling in it all the time. And it's got a situation, I believe, I'm going to ask our PW director to speak on how it works there. And I don't think we really have any problems with it, other than, like you said, we'd have to put a smaller pond in prior to this, but I'll ask Rob to speak on that.
Yep. So through the mayor again. So what Councilor Shipley is referring to is it's a submerged inlet, right? So that's the issue, is that we have a pond there. So we have the availability of a submerged inlet, and then it comes into the outlet structure, which has stop logs. Essentially, it spills over, so that controls the water elevation of the pond. The problem is putting a pond in this case, right? Where that would be done, and what the impact is, and whether Upper Thames would approve it. So I think I get there's advantages to it. There's just other complications with it too. So.
Right. Is there anyone else? Okay, go ahead. If you'd like to come forward, Mr. Stanton. You'll probably have to push the button. There we go. I've pushed it. It's green. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess this has been a very frustrating exercise, because I like to think there's common sense in things, and there's been very little common sense in this. So I'm sure the engineers hate me with all the pushback we've given, but we kind of conceded to this at the last, but it won't work. No question. It's a huge cost for us and very little chance of it working. We've got 15 or 20 years experience watching this not work. So with them leaving trees, the intent was to clean that back. It was a bandage solution rather than a good solution. The good solution is the pipe. The bandage was to clean those trees back, but when Upper Thames is pushed back and leaving a large number of trees in there, we're gaining nothing by doing that. So I'm not sure what the solution is. If there is another authority that we can go to override Upper Thames, I'd be more than willing to go that, because my discussions with them were totally pointless. They considered that floodplain land, which is ridiculous with the elevation it is above the Oxbow Creek. But if there is another way to do it, I'd be wide open, because this is absolutely a bandage. It is not a solution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I'm wondering if our Public Works and Engineering head would is there any other process, or can you enlighten us in any way? Is there another alternative or another step we can take, or have you heard of anything help out with this?
To the mayor, I think, as mentioned before, the possibility to go to Upper Thames board, have that discussion and ask for, I guess, relief or approval for a closed pipe through. That would be the only way to do it with Upper Thames.
Okay.
Is there other alternatives that could be looked at potentially, but they probably come with increased costs as well, right?
Okay, thank you. So I was just curious about that. Oh,
Oh, sorry.
okay, yeah,
Can I
it's green.
speak? Okay. So in light of all the comments, rather than voting on this, do we defer it? And who appeals to Upper Thames? Is it us as a municipality, or is it up to the public? Who would appeal? And I'm going to tell you this, all of us are on a conservation authority board. They're probably going to be reluctant to overrule staff on it, but there is an appeal available. And rather than vote on it, I think we should hold off on this and defer this if the public's willing, and bring it to Upper Thames and said, look, there's concern that this is a Band-Aid solution. It's not going to solve the problem. Can you reconsider at the board level? And that's the group that would overrule their own staff. That's what I would be for, at least trying that.
Okay, according to the process flow chart for drainage problems, this would be referred back to the engineer. So that's the next step that would be open to us. I think the purpose of this meeting is that people are allowed to comment, explain, highlight the concerns and so forth. You've heard them. And I think then the motion would be changed to just refer it back. Or so do I do this part and then say that we're not going to do the court of revision piece today, in other words? Yeah.
To refer it back to the engineer.
Yeah. So just, I have to get the wording right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the amended motion, I'll just read it out because you don't have it in front of you, is that the council for the municipality of Middlesex Centre, pardon me, receives the Ilderton Municipal Drain Number 2 Engineers Report from GEI Consultants Canada Limited dated February 7th, 2025, and that it be referred back to the engineer. I will look for a mover and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Brennan and Councillor Shipley. All in favor of that? And opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. And I guess we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Okay, now, the next item on our agenda is the adoption of the minutes.
Is there any further questions?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Would the engineer like to hear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If you come forward and push the button, it'll be red. I'll push the button here and you'll have a green. If you would push the button, please, on the left-hand side of there you go. And I've got it green. Now we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay, good.
We live at 118 Willow Ridge Road in Ilderton. So we back onto the pond. Is that the area that you're discussing today? Just to be specific about location,
Okay, do you want to answer?
because not all of us are clear about that.
So yes, I can answer that. So there's a map that was included in the report if you were to look at it, but it's to the east of the pond through the woodlot down by the wastewater facility, and then out through the agricultural property to the east to the Oxbow. So it wouldn't affect the pond itself. There's
No,
no
so
filter.
it doesn't run in the property in back of Willow Ridge Road. You're talking about another location.
So not the park property where the stormwater pond is. It's east
Yeah.
of that.
Because they've already put piping in there several years ago.
Sorry, somebody had the map up there.
Yeah.
There it is.
There you go. So you can see that area kind of on the,
Well, that's my point. I don't understand the map, that's all. So,
uh,
so it's not in back of Willow Ridge Road. It's another area.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the point I was asking.
You must mean over here.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, go.
Okay. Is there anyone, come on up. The mic is on now. So to the name. If you would state your name, please, to
Henry Corticus. I live at 116 Martin Drive. I was just wondering, the green area is the area that's going to be assessed or that has to share part of the cost of this work? The green area on the map?
Yes, that's the drainage area, so that's being assessed, but those residents fall within the urban area and pay the stormwater fee, so they will not pay any fees directly to this. The assessment that will go to those properties will be paid for out of the stormwater reserve fund. So the residents will not get any invoices for the work.
So the residents will not get an extra cost
Correct.
assessed on their, okay. Okay. Thank you.
My name is Gloria Dawson, and I'm 22606 Hyde Park Road. And in 2017, they put in a new drainage pipe across our property. At the front of it has a catch basin. At the back of our property has a second one. They're both open. And then the pipe is it's enclosed underneath. We have had water problems ever since they did it. The catch basin is higher than the ground level. So the water pools on our front lawn, and we cannot cut our grass until at least the middle of June because of the spring rain. If it rains really hard, we actually have a creek that goes across our property from west to east to the point that we call it Dawson Creek. It happens so often. And at the time that they did the improvement, we complained at that time about the levels, that it doesn't take the water. And we were told by the engineer that that was the property, that was the way it was designed. There was no movement on it. What do we do now that you're looking at the area to improve what we are facing 8 years ago?
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
So I guess a short response I'll give, so that the improvements that are being looked at right now have no impact on your property. So that would be a completely separate thing to be looked at. So I think you've met myself and Dan Anderson before, so we could have a discussion on that separately, and that would fall outside of this process.
Okay, because our property is within the green area.
It is, but that's just because that's where the water that goes through your property, where it ultimately ends up to this outlet. But the work that's being proposed right now has no impact on how it functions on your property.
So what do we do then to 8 years later to address what happened?
So
That
we can-
never
we-
corrected our property.
We can have that discussion, but I don't think that
Okay.
that needs to be.
Can
had
you
yet.
tell me where how I can do that?
So when this session's done, if you want to meet me outside, Dan and I can talk to you for a second.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Rob. I was just clarifying that this part of the agenda refers to the Drainage Act application and that piece. And these are questions to do with municipal water movement. So our engineer is the right person to speak to, and he can clarify, explain, and answer your questions clearly and specifically. But as far as the council agenda is concerned, it's outside the scope, and we have to sort of play in our sandbox. Okay, so I'm not trying to shut anyone down. I just want to make sure that we're clear about who to talk to, what you can get, and why we're here actually this morning. So it's good that you've raised these, and we'll move on to the next one then. So we did have a recommendation. We called the vote, and we can move on now, right? Okay, so.
You want to give a minute if anyone wants to leave?
Oh, yeah. So if anybody wants to leave, feel free. If you want to stay and watch the council meeting, we're happy to have residents stay. But you don't need to. That's my point. Okay. Yeah.
I live in town.
I wanted to kind of stop on the floor, but I just thought, man, this is a perfect example. I think I have nothing to do with that. It's good. Okay. Okay, so I think most everyone now who's left wants to be here. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes. The recommendation before us is that the minutes of Middlesex Centre Council meeting held on September 17th, 2025 be adopted as printed. It is moved by Councillor Coles, thank you, and Councillor Cates, thank you. All in favor? And that's carried. The next item up is the consent agenda. We have 6 items here. I'll look to council. Is there anything on this list that you would like to speak to, comment on, ask about? Okay, in that case, we have a recommendation. Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Could I just ask Tiffany to just run through very quickly this new reserve fund and where all the money is coming from to put into that and what it's basically going to be for?
Yeah, so through you, Mayor DeVite. So this was with respect to the Reserve Fund Policy report. So included in this report and is a discussion of opening 3 new reserve funds, as well as closing some reserve funds and some administrative updates to the policy. The question that Deputy Mayor Brennan has asked is with respect to the new reserve funds that are being created. And so there are the 2 new reserve funds that are being created by using funds from the existing reserves. The first, I'll touch on the Efficiencies and Improvement Reserve Fund. So the Efficiencies and Improvement Reserve Fund will be set up to address any of those projects that are included in our budget that are listed as unfunded at this time. The funding for the Efficiencies and Improvement Reserve Fund has been selected to come from the Roads Capital Reserve Fund, as well as the Buildings and Facilities Reserve Fund. The way staff established where the amounts and the funding would come from was based on the projections in the 2026 to 2030 5-year capital budget on the majority of the projects that are falling under efficiencies and improvements and doing an allocation that way. This was suggested as part of the approved long-range financial plans that were presented to council and approved in June of 2025. And this will become a new funding source for those projects that are very community driven. So to give an example of what would be included in that would be, as many of you are aware, Councillor Cates has discussed many times about a crosswalk on Kamoka Road. That would be something that would be an unfunded project at this time. It is something that the community is driving as well as has some council support to it. However, there is no funding in place based on our existing reserve funds. This reserve fund is established for projects such as those. That is one example. I would say, based on the reports we have now, there are probably 40 to 45 projects that would fall into that category. And this is why that reserve fund has been created and will be have funding aside based on council's direction. The second being the growth reserve fund. And so I want to, I know there's been some questions around the title of growth reserve fund. And to be very clear, this is for the projects that are identified in our development charge study that are benefit to existing. And so this is not this section of the project that is funded by development charges. Development charges and growth will be funding that portion. The growth reserve fund will be funding the portion that is benefit to existing for those specific projects. With respect to determining the funding and the sources, that was also outlined with our long-range financial plans, and specifically when we looked at over the next 10-year period in our development charge study and allocated the funding portions from the benefit to existing based on the type of asset, and then aligned it to where in the past it would have been funded from, such as the Fire Vehicles and Equipment Reserve Fund, the Buildings and Facilities Reserve Fund, the Roads Capital Reserve Fund, and the General Vehicles and Equipment Reserve Fund. And the percentage of that amount directly aligns with how it was set up in our development charge study. The other thing that hasn't been addressed in this report is with respect to the water and the wastewater. They do have benefit to existing as part of the development charge study, and those will be funded out of the water, wastewater reserve funds as the projects come up. However, as identified in the water, wastewater and stormwater long-range financial plan, the majority of those projects will have to be funded by debt. So we haven't set up a separate reserve fund as we will most likely be using debt for those. So at this point, that is how those balances were obtained and recommended to transfer into a new growth reserve fund, which will be funding all of the benefit to existing from the development charge study for our tax-supported assets. I hope that helped answer the question.
Sorry, wrong one. I'll just check in. Okay, I do see another hand. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Tiffany. I just wanted to say thanks for mentioning the crosswalk. I actually have a note here, quote, currently listed as unfunded. And so thanks for the explanation.
Is there anyone else with an add-on? I don't see any hands. So the motion before us is that items 7.1 through 7.6 listed under the heading of consent agenda for October 1st, 2025 be adopted as recommended. I have Councillor Cates and Councillor Burrs. Thank you. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, moving on to item 8. We have staff reports. The first item up is the 2025 Asset Management Plan, and we have Aubrey here to give us an overview of that report whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor DeBeat. Good morning, members of council. Today, I will be presenting our municipality's 2025 Asset Management Plan. This presentation outlines our current asset portfolio, financial strategies, and the long-term impacts of our proposed investments. Let's begin by looking at our asset management maturity. Next slide, please. Since 2021, we've made significant strides in advancing our asset management maturity. Using the FCM Asset Management Readiness Scale as our benchmark, we've progressed from foundational levels to levels 4 and 5 across most competencies, particularly in policy development, accountability structures, and staff training. This progress reflects years of dedicated effort to enhance data quality, strengthen planning practices, and better align in financial strategies with infrastructure needs. Next slide, please. Our infrastructure portfolio is valued at $1.5 billion. This includes a diverse range of assets, roads and bridges, water, wastewater, and stormwater systems, fleet, and facilities. Currently, 54% of our assets are rated in good or better condition. However, that leaves 46% in fair to very poor condition, posing risks to service reliability, safety, and long-term financial sustainability. Poor condition can have real and cost impact. For example, roads in poor condition can lead to increased vehicle wear, higher maintenance costs, and safety concerns for drivers and pedestrians. Aging water mains are more prone to breaks, resulting in emergency repairs, service disruptions, and potential property damages. Deteriorated facilities can affect staff productivity, increase energy costs, and pose health and safety risks. Stormwater systems in poor shape may fail during heavy rainfall, increasing the risk of localized flooding and environmental damage. This example highlights the importance of proactive investment and condition monitoring to reduce long-term costs and maintain service levels. Next slide, please. Our funding sources are divided between tax-supported and rate-supported assets. Tax-supported assets account for $896 million, covering infrastructure such as roads, bridges, fleet, and facilities. Rate-supported assets totaling $611 million, including water, wastewater, and stormwater systems. This breakdown is critical for aligning our financial strategies with asset needs. It ensures that funding decisions reflect the nature of the assets, its service delivery model, and the expectation of our community. Understanding this split also helps us manage risk, prioritize investment, and maintain transparency in how infrastructure is funded and maintained. Next slide, please. Our financial strategy is guided by 2 long-range plans developed by BMA Consulting and presented to Council on June 4th Council meeting. To support sustainable infrastructure renewal, the plans recommend annual increases across key funding areas: 8.4% for the tax levy, 6.1% for water rates, 8.7% for wastewater rates, and 10% for the stormwater rates. These increases are essential to closing our infrastructure funding gap. Next slide, please. This slide outlines the direct impact of the proposed funding increases on our asset management strategy. These funds will enable critical infrastructure renewal across all asset categories, ensuring we maintain service levels, address aging assets, and reduce long-term costs. Let's take a closer look at how each funding stream contributes to these outcomes. Next slide, please. Tax-supported assets received the largest proposed increase, approximately 1.5 million annually. Over the next 10 years, the total investment need for this asset is 314.8 million, presented in the green bar. Currently, available funding amounts to 186 million, shown in blue, leaving a funding gap of 128 million, highlighted in the red dotted section. This gap represents over 40% of the total need, which is substantial. Without strategic planning and sustained investment, this shortfall could lead to deferred maintenance, increased life cycle costs, and reduced service levels across critical infrastructure. Next slide, please. Water rate supported assets have projected 10-year investment need of 45.4 million. Current available funding totaling 35.2 million, resulting in a funding gap of 10.2 million. While smaller in scale compared to tax-supported assets, this gap still represents a significant shortfall. Without adequate investment, we risk increased maintenance costs, service disruptions, and delayed infrastructure renewal in our water systems. Next slide, please. Wastewater rate supported assets have a projected 10-year investment need of 65.6 million. Current available funding stands at 34.8 million, resulting in a funding gap of 30.8 million. This shortfall represents nearly half of the total need and poses a significant challenge. Without adequate funding, we risk increased system failures, environmental impacts, and costly emergency interventions, making a strategic investment in wastewater infrastructure a critical priority. Next slide, please. Stormwater supported assets have a projected 10-year investment need of 26.3 million. Available funding is currently at 12 million, leaving a funding gap of 14.3 million. This gap represents more than half of the total need, underscoring the urgency for increased investment. Without it, we face heightened risk of system failure during extreme weather events, increased flooding, and environmental impacts, making stormwater infrastructure a key priority in long-term planning. Next slide, please. Despite the proposed investments, we are facing a projected infrastructure deficit of 219.3 million by 2034. This deficit is most pronounced in tax-supported assets, which account for the largest share of our infrastructure portfolio and funding gap. Our goal is to reduce this deficit through strategic plan and targeted spending, prioritizing investment that extend asset life, improve service levels, and reduce long-term costs. Next slide, please. As a next step in managing costs, we should continue to enhance data quality and formalize condition assessments. Improved data enables more accurate forecasting, better prioritization of investments, and reduce reliance on assumptions. Formal condition assessments provide objective insights into asset health, helping us allocate resources more effectively and avoid costly surprises. Together, these efforts will strengthen our decision-making and support long-term financial sustainability. Next slide, please. In this section, I want to highlight the importance of investing in formal third-party condition assessments. Our projected asset needs, illustrated in the green bars in previous slides, are primarily based on asset condition, which currently relies heavily on age. While age can be a helpful indicator, it doesn't always reflect the true state of an asset. Factors such as usage, environmental exposure, and maintenance history all influence our asset deteriorate over time. Based on my time spent with our operators, it is clear that they do an excellent job of maintaining assets through scheduled maintenance, inspection, and preventive maintenance. Their efforts help extend asset life and improve reliability, often resulting in better condition than age alone would suggest. As a result, we may be overstating our future asset needs, which could lead to misaligned funding priorities. By investing in formal condition assessments, we can validate this observation, gain a more accurate understanding of asset health, and make informed decisions. This leads to improved asset performance, reduced projected needs, and smaller funding gap. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. There's a lot in there to digest and think about. I'm sure we'll get some questions. Okay, I'll start with Deputy Mayor Brennan.
To you, Madam Mayor, to Aubrey. It's a pretty dim picture you're painting here. You know, even with the increases you're suggesting, it's still well short of what the projections are. And with the Ontario government pushing for more housing, that's only going to increase the infrastructure costs. So I'm not sure, even with watching what we spend and you know, increases that are going to send people right around the bend, how we can do this. Like, you know, an 8% increase in taxes over, you know, every year for the next 10 years, that's an 80% increase in 10 years. I'm not sure that's sustainable to anybody that lives in this community, but I don't know what the answers are, because even at the increases you're predicting at 1.5 million a year for 10 years, that's 15 million, and we're short 128 million. Like that's still 113 million short. How is this going to play out going down the road? That we can't do this, we can't afford this.
Go ahead.
To the mayor, to Deputy Brennan, that is correct. The silver lining, though, is we're not alone. The recent report from Infrastructure Canada, which we've taken part of, the current infrastructure deficit for Canada across the whole country is close to $1 trillion. So we're definitely not alone. The only way that we can do it is just make do on what we have, basically. So what we can do is prioritize on what, based on what money that we have for funding, and then make sure that we spend it wisely, and make sure that we targeted the assets that needs to be replaced, and make sure that our maintenance, our operators will continue doing their utmost job, and make sure that they're on top of their maintenance and making sure that our asset extend their lives.
Not helpful, but okay.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. And through the chair to members of council, and Aubrey did a good job summing up that we're not alone in this. And I think that what we can look to the positive about Middlesex Center is that with Aubrey being here and the team that we've got, that we have dedicated ourselves to positioning Middlesex Center to be in good standing, regardless of the delta gap from the financial perspective. You can rest assured that we have the policies, we've got the staffing, we've got all the resources in place that we can dedicate ourselves to target the assets that do need attention. And then with that, we haven't considered all of the future grant opportunities that will come into shape and come into place. And with Middlesex Center having all of these different plans that council's been very supportive of, with our long-range financial plans and our servicing master plans and now our asset management plans, when we tie this all together, it really positions Middlesex Center well for any future infrastructure funding that is available, so that we can then target our assets and we can also be part of the puzzle to build the homes that are needed. So overall, yes, it might not be as glum and chum as it sounds. It is a lot of money, but at the same time, we're in a good financial position and we're in a strong financial position with respect to our resources. So it's not all as bad as it does seem. And I think the municipality is positioned well for the future to target what needs to be done for the long run.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thanks for that report, Aubrey. So I've been around for a while and these reports always come on with this massive thing. We haven't seen the budget yet. It's up to us to manage it. Hopefully we don't have to touch service levels too much, but we might get into this. But we have a reputation staff-wise of really taking care of stuff, in my opinion. On the equipment, the guys really emphasize keeping our equipment in good shape. I don't get too worked up. I hope we can manage through this, and I think we will. I agree with what Michael says. If you want to go for grant money, then you better have plans in place that you can share with the upper levels of government. If I look across the county, I think we're in as good a shape as anybody in the whole county of Middlesex. That doesn't say much, but well, it doesn't in the end. Everybody's in the same boat, and it's all a matter of managing it. And hopefully we don't have to get into service level cuts, but I remain optimistic. We'll do the best we can. This gives us insight, which we haven't had in the past, so I'll stop there. Oops.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Aubrey. Aubrey, can you just expand on the 46% assets in fair, poor, or very poor condition exactly? Is it roads, like bridges, equipment? Thank you.
Through the mayor to Councilor Shifley. The 46% in poor or in fair to very poor is mostly in the facilities. And that's why I've recommended to have a conditional assessments, because based alone on age, they show us poor and very poor. However, based on talking to staff, they fully believe that it's better than what it should be.
You're set. Go ahead, Councillor.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Aubrey. I know there's a lot of numbers you got to work with, and I appreciate that. I got some questions that said 27% of our water assets are in poor condition, and wastewater facilities are average condition is fair. And we've got basically a young system. So when you define fair, does that sometimes mean, does that the condition, or is it under capacity? Like this, like I said, I'm just having a hard time getting my head around the fact that that many of our new assets aren't in great shape.
Define new.
Well,
yeah.
30 years, like how much stuff would we have that's much more than 30 years old? Very little.
Through the mayor to Councilor Arts. This is average. So we have the condition is based on average. So we might have water lines that are newer, but we have a lot of a couple of kilometers that are older, which is probably like in 1970s. So that drives the condition of the total system itself.
Okay, I've got, just hold on here. Oh, there was probably a question for Rob. What's a curb stop?
It is the valve, the water valve at the property line. So at the street line with.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And when it comes to replacement culverts and all that, it's a point I've driven before. Like our inventory is based basically on culverts more than 2 meters. So I think you're vastly understating how much infrastructure and culverts, because my road, I've lived on Charlton Drive all my life, and from the Nairn to the Coldstream is 2.5 kilometers. We've got 3 culverts at 1.85 meters that don't show up anywhere. We've got 2 at 0.62. We got another 2 at 0.46. I got a 0.51 and a point. I got 9 culverts on our road, and they don't show up in your inventory because they're too small, right? And we're at the bottom end of a watershed, so we do, but I mean, I think somewhere in your formula, you gotta add so much a kilometer for inventory that we have, but it won't show up, and it's not your fault. There's a lot of small culverts, so I was just making that point.
That's correct. We are continuously adding more assets. So I don't want, I, I could see that, there's a lot of, it, the more asset that we add in our portfolio, the more money that we'll need. So like I said, it's like we're still finding assets every day and we're still adding assets in our portfolio.
But the more assets you find, those funding formulas, that means we get more money too, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I think.
Is there anyone else? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Cates.
Thank you through Madam Mayor to Aubrey. Very good report. I find this, these details very, very interesting. And, you know, I'm sure as we find new things and put them all in there, it kind of, it is what it is, and we need what we need, like Michael says. You know, everybody is finding this. But I also, you know, I think that we have a lot to be proud of for what we have and for, you know, the great job that everybody does. And so, you know, I think we can't forget to say that too. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Coles.
Thank you. Through the mayor, I just had a question for you, Aubrey. So I do appreciate your proactive asset planning approach. I think that's great for our municipality. I had a question just based on 2 questions, actually. Following on Councillor Shipley's question about facilities, and that we had about 46% were falling in that fair and poor area. Could you expand a little bit on the facilities? What type of facilities are falling into that category? And then I have another question after that.
To the mayor, to Councillor Coles, the facilities, because all of them are from the 1970s and also sometimes older, because we don't have conditional assessments on those. They are based on age, so it shows that they're poor and very poor. And that's why my suggestion is we invest on those assessment conditions, because those poor and very poor assets, based on staff opinions, there should be better than those. It should be better than poor or better poor. So if we can drive and we can drive those needs down, our infrastructure deficit will definitely be better.
Thank you. Okay. That sounds good. So we might be able to improve that there based on not just looking at the age alone. My next question was just about those condition assessments. So will council be able to monitor these condition assessments and actually see if they're extending the asset life and reducing failures? Is there a way that we'll be able to monitor to make sure things are improving?
As part of the second phase, let's just say, every year I'll be presenting to council on how we're doing. That is actually part of the OREG, to be able to report back to council every year and to show and monitor and show that if we're improving or not. So it's definitely part of the process. And yeah, I'll be seeing you. I'll be here again next year, letting you know how we're doing.
Thank you.
I don't see any more flashing buttons. So just before we finish up, I do want to say thank you, Aubrey. Since you've come on staff and we've actually got into the nits of all of this, the amount of information on our understanding of where we're at, where we're going, has been increased 1,000-fold, not just a little bit. We have a much better understanding. We have more ability to go for grants and things. For me, this is a virtual cycle, and I mean, I know we had to start at one point. We don't have all of those numbers yet, but we're way ahead of a lot of municipalities because we started early. So we did benefit from some of that grant funding that was early on too. So I just want to say thank you to staff for the work that's been done in this area. I think we're well positioned. I think it's sometimes better to have a worst case scenario because then you can think about what can we do or how can we do it. Even if we improve some of these significantly, the dollars are so big, I'm not sure how much of an improvement that will be, especially as we go forward over time, add assets and the cost of everything goes up. So just thanks for the effort. Okay, so we do have a recommendation before us, and that is that report PWE number 48, 2025 regarding the 2025 asset management plan be received, and that the 2025 asset management plan attached to this report be approved, and further that staff be directed to publish the 2025 municipal asset management plan on the municipal website. If I could have a mover, please. Councillor Shipway, Councillor Coles, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay. Today we have no notices of motion and no correspondence items. Did you want to give us an update, Deputy Mayor, on County Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The road assumption for this current 5-year period, Park House Drive from County Road 81 to County Road 14, Cobble Hills Road from County Road 2 to County Road 28, and Whalen Line from County Road 59 to Highway 7 are being assumed by the county. This time they do this every 5 years. They look at taking roads that different municipalities want to give them. We had a delegation from Hydro One about the Lakeshore project update, hydro line running through a lot of, mainly through Southwest Middlesex. So that was an update given to us from them. The London and Middlesex Local Immigration Partnership Community Plan and new commerce. They had survey results from those. Middlesex County Economic Development report was given to us. MLPS Waterloo base, the building there was purchased by the county at $3,130,000 and renovations of $686,000 are ongoing at that building. The rent for that building starts at $270,000 for this year, or 2024 through 2043. It goes up to $394,000. And that covers all the purchase cost and the renovations that the county is putting into that building. So those costs are all covered through the rent back to MLPS. So that's the main part of that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. There is no other business unless somebody wants to raise some. I don't see any hands. Okay, the closed session that's on the agenda is going to be deferred until October 15th meeting. So we can now move to, oopsie, I have to skip a page here. Consideration of the bylaws. We do have an amendment here based on our the municipal drain conversation that we had. So the motion is amended that bylaws 2025-74 through to number 77 and number 79 be adopted as printed. Thank you, Councillor Cates and Councillor Burrs. All in favor? And that's carried. And then we need a motion for adjournment that the Council for Municipality of Middlesex Centre adjourns the October 1st, 2025 council meeting at 10:34 a.m. And I have Councillor Shipley and Councillor Coles. Thank you. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Thank you, everyone. If Council could stay behind for a minute.